Senator Murkowski, I'd like to have you begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the invitation to spend just a few minutes with this committee to not only speak about Alaska's experience when they faced the disaster of an oil spill back in 1989, but to also share with you a proposal that I have just introduced that would allow for an expedited claims process, which I think will be helpful and would hope that this committee would consider. I will just take a point of personal privilege and say it is a delight to be in front of your committee, a committee that is clearly dominated by my female colleagues, and it's a good feeling. I wish I could come to more of these committees like this. But again, I thank you for your leadership. We had an opportunity on Monday to fly over the spill and to share that experience with 4 of our other Senate colleagues, as well as Secretary of Interior, Secretary of Homeland Security. And as one who has, again, lived in a state where we had our own disaster, there was so much that I saw looking down that reminded me of where Alaska was 20-some odd years ago. And it brought back, in my mind, those very difficult times for our families, our fishermen, our communities. And it was not just the environmental disaster. As Senator Cantwell has recognized, there is the immediate impact of the disaster that is upon you and how you deal with that on a day-to-day basis. But to know that so many of the claimants in the Exxon Valdez lived with this as part of their daily life for 20 years as they pursued finality through the courts. This was and is a tragedy unto itself, in that there was disaster at the time, and then there was emotional disaster that continued, and there was no closure for these people that were damaged. There was no closure for these communities that were damaged. You can deal with cleanup aspects of it, but when you have not been able to sign off on this issue because of fights and the ongoing stress of what you have dealt with, this is a disaster on its own. We cannot allow this to be repeated to those people in the Gulf of Mexico, to those families that you represent. Now, we've got 3 members of the Energy Committee sitting up there on the dais as well. You know that on Tuesday, the Energy Committee held a hearing on the existing liability compensation that applies with the Deepwater Horizon spill. I think we can recognize that there's not a shortage of avenues to pursue damages. The amount of limitation on liability is one where BP has stated repeatedly, and it has been reinforced by the administration and all members that I have come across, that there is no limit on the amount that BP and others can eventually be required to pay. But the concern here is there's a shortage of quick, efficient, fair mechanisms to pay the claims to those who are desperate and in immediate need of help. And when we were down there in the Gulf and we listened to the representative from the fishermen, the representative from the charter boat operators, Mike Voisin from the oystermen, what they need now is they've got a boat payment that must be made, and they can't get their boats out into the water. They've got a home mortgage that needs to be paid, and they have no income coming in. Again, I'll remind the committee, after the Exxon Valdez, it took 20 years for the final settlement. And in the case that we're dealing now with Deepwater Horizon, you're dealing with small businesses and individuals who depend on the resources of the ocean, of the marshes, of the beaches for their employment, for their sustenance. And this is truly a situation where justice delayed can be and will be justice denied. We've met with many of the affected communities, the fishermen, but many of the community organizations representing the victims are really frightened. They're outraged at the prospect of losing their identities to this spill, and they're not comfortable. They're not comfortable with letting the responsible party administer the claims process, and given the accounts of spill compensations that they've heard coming out of Alaska, you can hardly blame them for that. So the concern about where we are, we've discussed the liability cap issue in the Energy Committee, but raising the liability cap under OPA 90 is well, it's something that I absolutely support, and we are working on that issue. It doesn't get the Deepwater Horizon claims paid more quickly. BP is making an effort to pay the claims. You've mentioned that, Madam Chair. They've set up dozens of claims offices. They've expended millions in this effort already. But BP is not an organization with the administrative skills or the experience and the capacity to handle such an unprecedented process. And those that are filing the claims, quite honestly, are concerned about the fairness aspect of having BP judge the legitimacy and the amount of their claims. So I've introduced legislation that establishes this expedited claims procedure. An administrator would be put in place to quickly and fairly resolve the claims for economic damages that are caused by the disaster. The Act would establish an Office of Deepwater Claims Compensation that would provide timely, fair compensation on a no-fault basis to persons and state and local governments that have incurred the damages from the Deepwater Horizon spill. The residents and local governments of the Gulf region would have options for pursuing their claims either in court or under the expedited claims process. The bill provides for a claimant assistance program, including assistance for the claimants, training for nonprofit organizations and state and local government entities to provide the assistance. One of the things that we're hearing is people are saying, well, I've got to go on the internet, I don't know how to do it, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do, and there's nobody there to help. The goal is to provide a system that allows the recovery of damages through a process that will not require the citizens of the Gulf to go out and hire lawyers. We've all heard those stories about those that really got rich were the lawyers in the case. We don't want these individuals to have to give up a large percentage of their damages award and participate in decades-long process. So this Act will establish multiple resource centers. I know your concern, Madam Chair, was making sure that these services are available where the people are. You don't want to have to send them to Houston to go resolve their claims. These resource centers need to be located in existing federal office. They'll assist claimants with the preparation and filing of their claims. We establish an advisory committee on the Deepwater Horizon compensation that will consist of representatives of claimants and responsible parties and persons with expertise in marine and coastal ecology, oil spill remediation, fisheries management, and administering compensation programs. And these individuals will then advise the administrator. There's also some other provisions that protect the interest of the claimants, provisions that require the administrator to notify and assist those who may file incomplete claims. Oftentimes you file it, you think you're in the queue, and nobody tells you that you have not completed your claim. So it is a process that is designed to work for the claimant, not necessarily a process that is designed to work for BP or for the Coast Guard, for anybody else, but designed to work for the claimant. So I would encourage the committee to take a look at what we're proposing. We would like to work on this with you so that we ensure that those who have been damaged, those who are continuing to see the fear approach their shores, that we have a process that treats them fairly and expeditiously. And with that, Madam Chair, I thank you for the time that you've given me.
Thank you, Senator Murkowski. And I just want to say, and then I'm going to recognize Senator Vitter, who's just come for a short opening statement, and then turn it over to our panel, how grateful I am for you stepping up and filing this bill. This committee will look very hard at your bill. I don't know if it will be assigned to this committee in terms of jurisdiction, but you can rest assured that we will look at every aspect of that and make our own recommendations as to how it can be improved or give it support as much as we can, because you've hit the nail on the head, and your experience having dealt with Valdez can be a great help to us, and I look forward to working with with you, as we have in many ways on the Energy Committee on this subject. Senator Vitter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank you for this hearing. It's a very important topic involved in this.